Perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinilang, tulad ka ng magiting, sa manlulubi, di ka masisihin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit bumaga, mahirap ang tulad, awit sa paglayang-layaan. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig, ang bituin ng araw niya, kailan pa may napiling. Lupa ng araw, at ipagsimula, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya na dapat may pag-aari, ang buhay ng dahil sa'yo.
Ngayong hapon, gusto nating magbigay pugay o tribute sa ilang personahe na nag-ambag sa paglago at pagsulong ng ating mahal na UP Diliman Extension Programs in Pampanga and Olongapo o UPDEPPO. Ang mga taong ito ay may malaking bahagi sa paglago at pag-unlad ng UPDEPPO. Dahil sa kanilang sipag na buuin ang samahan ng mga alumni, dahil sa kanilang pagbubuhos ng suporta mula sa provincial government ng Pampanga, dahil sa kanilang galing at tiyaga, ang UPDEPPO ay nabigyan ng lubos na suporta at pagkilala. Sila ay mga personaheng walang humpay na yumakap at patuloy na nagmamahal sa UPDEPPO. Sila ay nagbibigay ningning sa dangal, talino at lakas ng isang pambansang pamantasan sa gitnang Luzon. Nito lamang nakaraang buwan, isang alumnus ng UPDEPPO ang nagpakita sa lahat ng husay at dedikasyon sa kanyang propesyon. Kaya nga siya ay binigyang pagkilala bilang isa sa natatanging 10 outstanding Filipinos ng taong 2021 ng Metrobank Foundation. Maraming salamat, Metrobank Foundation. At ito ay pinamumunuan ng aking iginagalang na kaibigan, si Ginoong Chito Sobrepena. Nariyan din ang ating guro at lecturer na walang kapantay ang loyalty sa UPDEPPO. Ang kanyang suporta sa atin ay nagbigay daan sa ating lokasyon at patuloy na suporta mula sa Clark Development Corporation. Sayang nga lamang at wala na siya sa atin ngayon. Nariyan din ang masipag at laging masasandalan na alumna ng UPDEPPO na siyang nagbuo ng Scholar ng Bayan Foundation upang patuloy na suportahan ang mag-aaral ng UPDEPPO, lalong-lalo na nitong mga huling panahon sa gitna ng pandemya. At ang huling gusto nating bigyan ng pagpupugay at pasasalamat ay ang dating gobernador ng Pampanga, natatanging alumnus ng UP College of Law, mahusay na abogado at tumayo bilang isang ama ng pamantasan dito sa Pampanga. Sa inyong lahat, walang katapusang pasasalamat at magiting na pagkilala sa inyong ginawa at patuloy pang ginagawa upang maipagmalaki ang papel ng UPDEPPO sa Gitnang Luzon. Sa ngalan ng pamunuan ng UP, ng faculty, staff, alumni, mag-aaral at mga kaibigan, atin ngayong binibigyan ng walang katapusang pagkilala ang inyong bukas loob, kagitingan sa pagsisilbi at pagmamahal sa UPDEPPO. Mula sa puso, maraming salamat sa inyo. Ngayong hapon, gusto rin nating ipagmalaki ang patuloy na paglalathala ng LIRIP, ang interdisciplinary journal ng UPDEPPO. Bahagi ito ng pangalan at pagkilala sa kakayanan ng UPDEPPO sa pag-aambag ng scholarship, talino at dangal. Maraming salamat sa inyong pakikiisa sa araw na ito. Mabuhay ang UPDEPPO!
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Malugod ko pong binabati ang 4 nating mga alumni na pararangalan sa araw na ito. Ang una ko pong babanggitin ay ang ating dating Solicitor General, dating Justice Minister, dating Gobernador ng Pampanga, dating faculty sa UP College of Law, at dating Pangulo ng UP Alumni Association, walang iba kundi si Attorney Estelito Mendoza. Malaki po ang kanyang naiambag sa pagkakatatag ng ating extension program sa San Fernando at nitong mga huling dekada sa ating campus sa Clark Air Base. Hindi rin matatawaran ang suportang kanyang ibinigay at patuloy na ibinabahagi sa ating universidad. Pangalawa po ay si Colonel Augusto Padua, ang kasalukuyang Executive Officer ng Office of the Assistant Chief of Air Staff for Operations ng Philippine Air Force. Nitong kasalukuyang buwan lamang ay kinilala siya ng Metrobank Foundation at ginawaran pa ng Outstanding Filipino Award for Soldiers dahil sa kanyang natatanging pamamaraan ng counterinsurgency noong siya ay commander ng Tactical Operations Group 2. Binigyan ng pagkilala ang kanyang pagsusulong sa mapayapang pakikitungo sa mga rebelde. Ang kanyang gawain tungo sa pagpuksa ng pag-aalsa ng walang kakarasan at pagbubuwis ng buhay ng kapwa Pilipino. Kasama rin po sa ating kikilalanin ngayong hapon si Miraflora Sanchez. Siya po ang UPAA Pampanga President at scholar ng Bayan Foundation VP for External Affairs. Siya po ay kikilalanin dahil sa kanyang aktibong pagtataguyod sa mga usapin at gawaing pang-alumni. Patuloy po niyang pinatitibay ang ugnayan ng ating mga alumni. Hindi lamang sa isa't isa, kung hindi pati na rin sa pagitan ng alumni at ng ating universidad. Napakahalaga ng mga ugnayang ito, lalo na ngayon kung kailangan nating magtulungan at kumilos bilang isang komunidad ng UP upang mapagtagumpayan natin ang kasalukuyang mga pagsubok. At ang ika-4 sa ating mga pararangalan ay ang namayapang si Seferina Yepez na naging curator ng Clark Museum mula nung ito ay matatag hanggang sa kanyang pagpanaw. Nakikiramay po ang universidad sa kanyang mga kaanak at sa mga taong nagmamahal sa kanya. Dahil sa kanyang tapat at masigasig na paglilingkod bilang National Affairs Advisor ng mga commander sa Clark, ipinangalan sa kanya ng US Air Force ang isang gantimpala sa kanilang Public Affairs Achievement Awards, ang Seferina Yepez Award for Outstanding Host Nation Employee. Nagturo rin po siya sa UP Clark at nagbigay sigla at kulay sa buhay at pag-unlad nito. Siya ay bukal ng karunungan pagdating sa kasaysayan ng Clark at kultura ng mga katutubong Aita sa loob at paligid ng Clark Air Base. Sa larangang ito ay wala siyang kapantay. Sa ating mga honorees na naririto at sa kinatawan ni Ms. Yepez, nagpupugay sa inyo ang UP. Ang inyong natatanging paglilingkod ay karangalan ng ating universidad. Ikinagagalak namin na kayo ay ipagbunyi sa hapong ito. Nais ko rin pong batiin ang UPDEPPO sa paglulunsad ng pinakabagong issue ng peer-reviewed journal nito na ang pangalan ay LIRIP. Isa na naman itong mahalagang ambag sa pagpapayabong ng interdisciplinary studies sa universidad. Ang LIRIP ay patunay na ang pananaliksik sa UP ay hindi natinag ng pandemya. Bagkus ay lalo pa itong pinagsikapan at itinaguyod. Congratulations, Director Ed Daco, sa napakagandang accomplishment na ito. Patuloy po nating babaybayin ang panahong ito ng puno ng pag-asa at pangarap. Malalampasan po natin ang pandemyang ito ng may higit na katatagan at kahandaan sa hinaharap. Muli, congratulations sa ating mga honorees. Congratulations sa UP Clark. Congratulations kay Dr. Ed Daco. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay.
Colonel Augusto Jen N. Padua of the Philippine Air Force National Security Administration is the Executive Officer of the Office of the Assistant Chief of Air Staff for Operations, A3, of the Philippine Air Force in Villamor Air Base, Pasay City. Having served in the AFP for nearly 25 years and with several academic distinctions to his name, Colonel Padua has demonstrated an impressive range of leadership and intellectual skills and an admirable level of discipline and work ethic, all of which have been recognized time and time again, both within and outside of the Air Force. From a young age, Colonel Padua showed an inclination towards service, leadership, and excellence. In college, he was Corps Commander of the Don Bosco Mandaluyong Air Force ROTC and later was elected President of the Student Council. He graduated at the top of his Advanced Air Force ROTC class in 1993. The following year, he completed his Bachelor of Science degree in Electronics and Communications Engineering from Don Bosco Technical College and was awarded the Rector's Medal for Leadership. He then entered the Aviation Cadet Program of the Philippine Air Force Flying School, where he served as Cadet First Captain, or the highest-ranking cadet in the Corps. After graduating from the program as number 3, he was commissioned in 1996 and was assigned to the 5th Fighter Wing in Basa Air Base. In 2000, he received the Commanding General's Kahusayan Award for safely landing back an S-211 aircraft despite a total hydraulic failure over the West Philippine Sea. Although he was already serving in the Air Force, Colonel Padua pursued and obtained his licensure as an electronics and communications engineer in 1997. A consummate learner, Colonel Padua went on to consistently excel in the different courses he attended at the Philippine Air Force, placing 3rd in both his Basic Safety Management course and AFP Comptrollership Officer Basic course, and 1st in his AFP Logistics Officer Intermediate course. In 2007, he graduated number 2 from his Squadron Officer course and broke the record for being the only Outstanding Graduate awardee. 3 years later, he obtained a Master of Management degree from the University of the Philippines Diliman Extension Program in Pampanga, having obtained the highest score in the comprehensive examination. In 2016, he was sent to take the Australian Command and Staff course at the Australian Defence College, later adding another graduate degree to his name, Master of Military and Defence Studies, this time from the Australian National University. It is no wonder that Colonel Padua has since been trusted to lead in the AFP in various important capacities. From 2011 to 2012, Colonel Padua served as the top dog, or the commander of the 7th Tactical Fighter Bulldog Squadron in Basa Air Base. He served as the Logistics Staff, or JC4, in the AFP Education, Training, and Doctrine Command, and as Chief of the Philippine Air Defense Control Center, the command and control facility of the Philippine Air Defense System. Through his efforts as the PAF's Modernization Acquisition Officer from 2013 to 2015, 6 PAF modernization projects were implemented, most notable of which is the FA-50 fighter aircraft, for which he was also the technical officer of the Technical Working Group. Prior to his current assignment as Executive Officer of the Office of the Assistant Chief of Air Staff for Operations, he was the commander of the Tactical Operations Group 2, or TOG-2, in Cauayan City, Isabela, the Philippine Air Force unit charged with all air operations in Region 2 and 3 other provinces in the Cordilleras. During his stint in TOG-2, the unit bagged the 2020 CGPAF Streamer for Combat Group category, otherwise known as the TOG of the Year Award, and the most coveted AFP Battle Campaign Streamer. Padua was commended for his unconventional approach to counterinsurgency by dropping leaflets instead of bombs, choosing to educate rather than eliminate rebels. TOG-2 air operations also captured the attention of the nation during the Cagayan mega flood in November 2020. It was the timely and commendable execution of the unit's air response that earned the deep admiration of Cagayan Governor Mamba and prompted him to nominate Colonel Padua to the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos for 2021. Not surprisingly, out of the hundreds of candidates, Colonel Padua was chosen to be among only 3 soldiers to win the much-coveted award. Of his peaceful approach to addressing counterinsurgency, Colonel Padua says, "We and the enemy have the same aspiration, a sustainably prosperous nation. One, however, is through democracy, and the other through communism. To prove that they are wrong is not to eliminate them, but to show that democracy works by good governance." As an honorable and capable soldier, engineer, and leader, as well as a devoted husband to Gilda and father to Isabella, Colonel Padua is indeed an outstanding Filipino, truly a man of vision and intellectual leadership, a servant leader in the truest sense. Colonel Augusto N. Padua, ipinagmamalaki ka ng Universidad ng Pilipinas.
Our UP President, Attorney Danilo L. Concepcion, the UP Diliman Chancellor, Dr. Fidel R. Nemenzo, our very own Director in Clark and Olongapo, Ma'am Edna Estefania A. Co. My fellow honorees, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Never in my dreams that I'd be receiving the Outstanding Alumnus Award from my master's alma mater. I would just have been proud to be an scholar ng bayan, but nevertheless, I therefore am so much prouder to receive the honor on behalf of the men and women of the Armed Forces of the Philippines who serve with me. As a short background, leaflets instead of bombs was the tagline associated by the Metrobank Foundation jurors of my accomplishments. For what was expected to be a mundane assignment in the vast mountainous regions of the Cagayan Valley became the center of the dawning of a refurbished concept far more effective than what air power has been conventionally known for. The leaflet drop and persuasion flight operations are not new concepts. In fact, records show of their use as early as World War I. Military commanders, however, normally look for that decisive engagement that galleons stand with the battlefield. And for us fighter pilots, victory in the air. My duty as a pilot and as a student mix well with duty. I remember on one Saturday, I had to cut class and report to the flight line, flew an airstrike mission in northern Luzon, and came back to join the next class. I remember informing my prof that I had to take a 1-month schooling in Beijing. However, I also could not forget the sleepless 2-week preparation I had to make for the compre, since 2 weeks was all that was allowed by my commander. School was such a respite from the regimented military life I have chosen. Within the 4 walls of the educational institution, I came to realize that we and the enemy have the same aspiration, a sustainably prosperous nation. One, however, is through democracy and the other through communism. To prove that the enemy is wrong is not to eliminate them, but to show that democracy works by good governance. The government's whole-of-nation approach through the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTF-LCAC came at the right time. We were merely reaching out to the hinterlands of Cagayan Valley, the lairs of the rebels, informing them of the government programs under NTF-LCAC. Information no less than the truth, but withheld by communist cadre leadership by having their frontline fighters incommunicado. As you can see, NTF-LCAC is a lot more than red tagging as others may claim. Huwag na po kayo magalit sa mga militar. Kiddingly aside, internally, we also received words of frustration and doubt. Senior officers questioning whether our non-kinetic operations were effective after all. From that viewpoint, I would understand the valuable resources that the Air Force spends in flying leaflet drop operations. Until a breakthrough came. From January 2020, rebels in groups came out from hiding, bringing with them the leaflets we dropped. The surrenders were documented by the media. Up until my reassignment to the headquarters, a total of 103 returned to the fold of the law, with 3 NPA guerrilla fronts dismantled. No number of bombs dropped can equal that to this day. This award from my alma mater, together with the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipino for 2021, reaffirm my resolve to carry on with my advocacy. I will forever be grateful for this honor. And I also wish to congratulate my fellow honorees. May the tribe of the scholars ng bayan increase as your armed forces we will protect that academic freedom our students enjoy, even with our own lives. In the same way that I firmly believe that an active opposition is a sign of a healthy democracy. But please, help us to put a stop to the recruitment to the armed struggle. Ang armadong pakikibaka at demokrasya ay dalawang magkasalungat na konsepto. However, it is the fresh, youthful mind that deception easily preys upon. Thank you, UP, and the entire UP system. And to the Filipino people, this honor is dedicated to you.
Miraflora Sanchez, President of the Alumni Association Pampanga Chapter and Vice President for External Affairs of the Scholar ng Bayan Pampanga. Mira, as she's fondly called in the UPDEPPO community, has been an ISKA since kindergarten. She attended the UP Integrated School until grade 10 and then went on to the UP Extension program in San Fernando for her Bachelor of Arts degree in Psychology. Beneath the smiling face and warm demeanor, Mira is the epitome of quiet, relentless, and passionate service. She brings this passion to her work as an environmental researcher and educator who is an advocate for the protection of marine life and the conservation of our coastal waters and oceans. Her nearly 3 decades of work in the field has put her in the challenging yet fulfilling position of helping to bridge the gap between science and policy and translating policy to practice. In her work with the Marine Environment and Resources Foundation Incorporated of the University of the Philippines Marine Science Institute, Mira has engaged with various international agencies such as the U.S. Agency for International Development, the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, and the United Nations Development Programme. Mira has also facilitated programs and short courses for the Philippine Coast Guard and recently developed curricula for the training regulations on the Coastal Resources Management National Certificate of the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. She has facilitated the creation and revision of manuals of operations and development plans for various national government agencies and local government units across the country. Mira's travels all around the country have allowed her the privilege of witnessing not only the beauty of the Philippines, but also, inevitably, the poverty that oppresses its people. This prompted her to set up Serve Inc. for Sustainable Environmental Resources and Vision Empowerment, a non-government organization established to balance the Filipino family's economic, environmental, and social needs, allowing stability for now and future generations through knowledge transfer, livelihood development programs, networking, linkages and collaborative partnerships, capacity building, and vision empowerment. Serve Inc. is not the first organization to be founded by Mira. 10 years ago, she helped establish the first and only association of graduates of UP San Fernando and UP Clark, the Scholar ng Bayan Pampanga Incorporated. Working hand in hand with other UP alumni in Pampanga, led by attorney Estelito Mendoza, who was then president of the UP Alumni Association Pampanga chapter, as well as fellow alumni members of the UP EHOS. The Scholar ng Bayan Pampanga soon proved itself to be a constant, dependable partner of the UPDEPPO in its efforts to provide the UP standard of education to Pampanga. For every milestone, in every hour we need, the Scholar ng Bayan Pampanga was there for UPDEPPO. On the 7th of September 2019, the UP Alumni Association Pampanga chapter elevated attorney Estelito Mendoza to Chairman Emeritus and elected a new president, Miraflora Sanchez. Yet those who know Mira know that regardless of title or position, to her, the mission and the heart that fueled it remain the same. She is an Iska, and she lives to serve God and country by helping to protect the earth and better the lives of those around her. Miraflora Sanchez, ipinagmamalaki ka ng Universidad ng Pilipinas.
I'm so thankful to God kasi He blessed me to have my education and training from the best academic institution in the country, and that is the University of the Philippines. Yung story ng pagmamahal ko sa UP might be different from the stories of most of my co-college alumni, but might be the same as my UPIS schoolmates from kinder to grade 10. Si tatay kasi started his service in the university noong 1970. Yun yung year before I was born. So imagine, I was born full-blooded maroon baby. So UP ako since birth, and that's my age. I was taught about honor and excellence inside and outside the four corners of our classrooms. Why and how? Because my nanay is also an educator herself. They always remind me to be true to what I say, to be sincere with my words, and to always keep my promises. That's how you earn honor. Yun ang sabi lagi sa akin ng mga professors ko sa UP. At pareho sila ng sinasabi ng nanay ko sa akin. Because if I don't, people won't trust me. They will dishonor me. And they will disrespect me. Tatay used to tell me to do my best in everything. As in everything, ha? And that's what I learned in UP also. When I do my assignments and projects, when I need to do a presentation or report, when I play soccer, swimming, or just simply dancing Filipino folk dances or modern jazz in our PE, I do it excellently from my best effort and knowledge. You don't need to be on a high position to do an excellent job, but just make sure that wherever you are, you may be a carpenter or an artist, a researcher, manager, scientist, or senator, gawin mo yung best mo in everything and make sure to do your job nobly, perfectly. I did not only learn honor and excellence in UP. I learned the respect with diversity. Diversity in culture, education, religion, indigenous knowledge and practices, and even political stance. I learned the concept of acceptance and respect, and appreciate the cultural differences and the ability to effectively work with the different individuals. Tinuro sa akin ng UP yun. And it helped me so much with how I deal with the peoples today. As I go up and talk to the chief staff of every region, and as I go down to the grassroots level and talk to my fellow managers and protectors of the environment, ang ating mga magsasaka, ang ating mga mangingisda, at mga kapatid na katutubo. Ang pagmamahal ko sa UP ay tulad ng pagmamahal ko sa aking nanay, sa aking tatay, at sa ating bayan. Walang hanggan. At ang pagtulong ko sa UP at sa mga scholar ng bayan ay pagbalik lamang ng kung ano ang binigay ng UP sa akin. Sabi nga sa ating awitin sa UP Nanay Mahal, malayong lupain, aming mga marating, di rin magbabago ang damdamin. Kahit saan ka man o anuman ang iyong posisyon sa lipunan ngayon, laging ipagdiwang buluwagan ng dangal. At tuwing inaawit ko ang bawat katagang yan, it always reminds me of my promise. Our promise. Pangako ng bawat isko at iska na nagtapos ng Universidad ng Pilipinas na tayo ay hahayo at itatanghal ang giting at tapang para sa pag-asa ng bayan. UP, maraming salamat po.
Miss Seferina Yepez, former professor of sociology, UP Clark Extension Division, Clark Air Base, and curator of Clark Museum. Ms. Yepez obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of the Philippines in 1971, graduating cum laude at the age of 46. Immediately after, she was hired to teach sociology at the University of the Philippines Extension Division in Clark Air Base, where she taught American and Filipino military and civilian personnel and their dependents, among others. By then, she had been working in Clark for nearly 3 decades, and no doubt had already established herself as a tremendous force within and beyond the Air Base in her role as National Affairs Advisor to 13th Air Force commanders beginning 1941. Sefi Yepez was such a model of excellent civil service that the U.S. Air Force created an award in her honor, the Seferina Yepez Award for Outstanding Host Nation Employee. With this award, Sefi Yepez distinguished herself as being among the most distinguished alumni of the University of the Philippines in public service. Even after the U.S. Air Force withdrew from the Clark Air Base in 1992, the Grand Lady of Clark could not be kept from public service. She was an Scholar ng Bayan after all. Eventually, she was appointed curator of the Clark Museum, which grew into a state-of-the-art tourist attraction under her watch, with 4 galleries devoted to the history of Clark, Pampanga and the rest of the metro, as well as an adjoining 48-seater 4D theater. An excellent storyteller with a sharp mind, Ms. Sefi Yepez was in fact an attraction herself. She was a repository of information and memories that had to do with the Clark Air Base, both as a place and an important point in Philippine history. Naturally, everyone with a historical question about Clark came to her, and she eagerly welcomed them. She gave countless interviews for news features, documentaries, and publications. On July 21, 2021, the whole of Clark fell silent upon the news of Ms. Yepez's passing at the age of 96, and the UP Clark community immediately felt the huge loss of its dear Ma'am Yepez. A tribute to Ms. Sefi Yepez by former UPDEPPO Director Dr. Charito Imperial Sebastian captures the role that Ms. Yepez played in the history and growth and even the day-to-day operations of UP Clark. She knew all the Aita tribes in and around the area, helped UPDEPP organize its Aita Studies Center, and depicted the Aita's life and culture in a dedicated corner of CDC Museum. She helped me develop the music, literature, and physical education part of the integrated Aita alternative learning curriculum from her wealth of knowledge of the Central Luzon Aitas. Ms. Yepez helped all the administrators of UP and Clark, from UP Clark to UPDEPPO days as they managed the unit here, especially in organizing the alumni, preparing for recognition rites, and linking with CDC in regard to UP status as locator in the Special Economic Zone. The most touching of all her efforts was when she patiently waited along with many constituents for the governor in the provincial capital to follow up on UPDEPP's request for a shuttle bus used to carry faculty from Diliman to Clark and back. According to those who witnessed the scene, the governor was so surprised that in her frail and late senior stage, Ms. Yepez waited in line to beg her to expedite the granting of the vehicle, as the old van of UPDEPP was already endangering the lives of the faculty in their daily travel to and from Diliman. That van was soon after granted to UPDEPP. Just a few days before Ms. Yepez's passing, UP Clark Deputy Director Angela Carrion recorded this video thanking Ma'am Yepez for all she had done for UP Clark.
Kay Binibining Seferina Yepez, curator ng Clark Museum at may tuturing na ika nga ay fairy godmother at good luck charm ng UPDEPP. Maraming salamat po sa inyong walang sawa at taus-pusong pag-aalalay.
Ma'am Sefi, it brings us comfort to imagine that now, more than ever, you know how much you were and will always be cherished by the UPDEPPO. Maraming salamat po.
Good afternoon, everyone. In behalf of Ms. Seferina Yepez, former professor in sociology and CDC Museum curator and historian, the family would like to express our gratitude and great pride in Ms. Yepez's being an honoree for outstanding alumni and friends of UP Diliman Extension Program in Pampanga. Where UP is concerned, Ms. Yepez had instilled morals throughout her life that she even had her own adage, Basta UP and UP Yata Yan, which sums up how deep Ms. Yepez holds UP in her heart. To us, her family, Ms. Yepez was extremely generous, a devoted and dedicated head of the family and a friend. Back then, she saw to it that we wanted for nothing and made sure to be home during weekends to be with us. She liked to take care of our needs and our lives. We will forever be grateful to her for being our mama. No doubt she loved us, even to a fault, taking the wrong or unpleasant situations lightly or matter-of-factly. Miss Yepez is never phased, never panics, seems to have a solution to any problem, her own and others too. Dedicated, devoted, compassionate, selfless and loving are best words to describe her being. With this tribute, today would have been an unforgettable and very special day like no other. UP Atayan. Again, thank you.
Attorney Estelito P. Mendoza, the father of UP Pampanga. The attribution is definitely well-deserved. Born on January 5, 1930, he was raised in Bacolor, then called the Athens of Pampanga, for being a breeding ground for poets, politicians, and other professionals, an environment most conducive to boundless intellectual and cultural development. Throughout his life, he has acknowledged the value of education. He articulates this sentiment whenever he is given an opportunity. In one of his addresses to young graduates, Attorney Mendoza said, "To me, education is the greatest liberator. It enables man to resist the deceptions and blandishments of others. But more than this, it frees man so that he can design and pursue his own destiny." And he walked his talk. He treasured the idea and pursued his consuming passion to be a lawyer. He was one of the youngest, if not the youngest, pre-law students among his peers. Yet, he went on to graduate with an LLB cum laude in 1952. He then received his LLM from Harvard Law School in 1954. Because of his scholarly bent, he was expected to be an academic. He did spend many years as a professor at the UP College of Law, and he proved to be challenging to many students. His emphasis on the discipline of the mind was a projection of his own painstaking and essentially solitary perfection of his legal knowledge. If he remained in academe, Attorney Mendoza could have been one of the legendary UP professors known for being repositories of inexhaustible knowledge and for their pedagogical excellence. But the lure of public office and lucrative law practice won. Inevitably, he walked along the corridors of power with confidence. In 1979, the UP Extension Program in San Fernando, Pampanga was established through then-Governor Juanita Nepomuceno with full support of the next governor, our attorney Estelito Mendoza. Since then, the durable bond between him and the unit has never been broken. He garnered all the achievements that could be desired, yet he faithfully maintained his connection with UP in Pampanga. Thus, the endearing reference to him as its father. With much ardor, he proved this role devotedly by being part of every major episode of the unit's story. He was its advocate, defender, benefactor, advisor, all rolled into one, as though holding himself responsible for the life of UP in Pampanga. He was the original president of the UP Alumni Association in Pampanga, a post that could well hinge on his seemingly self-imposed responsibility to seek the summum bonum of the unit. He made sure that alumni meetings were organized regularly to support the unit, and he generously sponsored them. He would assure every director of the unit of the unwavering support of the association. And he has graciously graced the stage as graduation speaker of UP Clark and Subic several times, making himself available despite his busy schedule. To UP in Pampanga, Attorney Mendoza's answer has always been yes. For decades, Attorney Estelito Mendoza has unselfishly fulfilled a role that is of immense value in the life of UPDEPPO. He has stood among the few who always helped the unit shoulder its burdens in all forms. He has shared his remarkable life without asking for anything in return. Indeed, it is difficult to find someone who can match his extraordinary commitment to UPDEPPO. As an expression of the UPDEPPO's gratitude to him, this tribute is given. To the father of UP Diliman Extension Program in Pampanga, you will remain forever in the consciousness of your academic family and community. Dakal at dakal a salamat po, Attorney Estelito Mendoza.
Good day to all of you. I understand this assembly has been called to recognize these services I have rendered to UP, particularly to UP Pampanga. Indeed, it was gratifying that I had the opportunity to serve the University of the Philippines. After all, it is the UP. Later, when it spread its wings to cover the province of Pampanga, the learning and the wisdom everyone acquires in the UP. In my case, I am UP all the way. UP High School, UP Associated Arts, and UP College of Law. That is how it is. And I would like you to benefit from whatever I have done for UP Pampanga. We have, for example, the oblation, which symbolizes the sacrifice of our youth to learn more in the service of our country and in the service of learning and be wise in the ways of the world and in the ways supportive of the UP.
Ako'y ng luwang hinirang, kung saan matatagpuan ang iyas ng teles ng silangan, nagniningning sa buong kabuluhan. Taglay ko ang hiwala ng silangan at sa buong bayan o lungsod, maging timog, hilaga at kanluran, ang Pilipino ay namumukod. Sama-sama nating mabutin, pinakamat tayong nalikwin. At ang ating tagumpay, tagumpay ng aking lahi, tagumpay ng aking lipi, ang tanging minipili ang hinahangad. Ang ako'y tagumpay natin lahat. Ako'y ay isang muling mahal sa aking nagtitinang lumalim, at sasama-sama natin magsisigaw, sama-sama rin natin natin magkalaw, isang patutunguhan, isang araw, isang kapuluan. Sama-sama nating abutin, pinakamat tayong nabigwin. Ang aking tagumpay, tagumpay ng aking lahi, tagumpay ng aking ibig, ang aking hininipi, ang hinahangad. Ang ako'y tagumpay natin lahat. Ang ako'y tagumpay natin lahat.
It is with much delight that I'm here to to be part of the much anticipated launch of LIRIP 2020. And perhaps this is also a good occasion for you to know that the meaning of LIRIP is to understand or to fathom, as in, hindi ko malirip. The journal consists of interdisciplinary studies, and it is interesting to note that LIRIP 2020 features regional studies. Its content serendipitously matches the viewpoint assumed in crafting a possible UPDEPPO offering, namely Cultural Development Program. The idea of regional studies moving forward to global ones is attendant upon the mode of knowledge generation, yielding significant connections between the two spheres. And it is a stroke of good fortune, to use a cliche, that National Artist for Literature Dr. Resel Mojares allowed us to include in this issue his keynote address titled Reading and Writing the Region, delivered at Reading the Region's conference last year. His work fittingly sets the tone of the issue. According to Dr. Mojares, the regional is crucial in, quote, broadening and enriching the base of a national culture, unquote. A logical inference is that the dictum, to be local is to be global, is preceded by to be local is to be national. The latter rests solidly on the internal strength and coherence of local cultures, whose self-determination has been established naturally. Dr. Mojares, in fact, reckons that, quote, the regional can no longer be thought of as marginal, unquote. This perspective is worth a considerable attention and critical engagement. To be emphasized is the growing recognition of the value of locality, embodying its distinct identity. Existing frontiers characterizing this uniqueness make a great contribution to different fields of knowledge. The present volume features locally situated interdisciplinary research. To put local research, a kind of driving force for advancement to the service of the community, is a dominant theme. Dr. Florencia Charito Sebastian's reflexive ethnographic paper is about a local indigenous tribe, safeguarding the Pinatubo Aita communities, which have always been subject to the inherent dangers of development, is a fundamental issue confronted by the study. The effort to elucidate the embeddedness of this tribe's existence in its territorial realm and to highlight the need to preserve its cultural heritage is a key contribution to the growing array of regional interdisciplinary researches. Still on local knowledge and invaluable heritage, mathematics in art, color symmetries of Pampanga's giant Christmas lanterns, explores a new dimension of a traditional craft in Pampanga. The writers, Dr. Imogene Evidente and Assistant Professor Angela Carrion, take an academic perspective based on the classic relation between art and mathematics. Quote, art can demonstrate the elegance of mathematical theory, and conversely, math is a servant of the arts, unquote. Embracing such harmonizing principle, the authors embark on an almost ceremonious representation of reciprocity as they examine the lantern structure. The technical competence becomes a large factor in discerning the marriage, so to speak, of mathematics and art, in the case of the cultural icon of the Pampangans. Another research, Evolution of Management Control Systems in Private Non-Profit Higher Educational Institutions by Dr. Purisima Pandillo, has been carried out in Pampanga. The case study has generated promising accounts relative to the present state of higher education in the locality. High-valued quality and relevance of education as the foremost priority can be gleaned from the results of the study involving local educational institutions. And the last research focuses on the far-reaching and severe effects of COVID-19. Featured narratives of sample educators are in the paper Coping with the Transition to Remote Learning, experiences of tertiary level business educators in Angeles and in Clark, Pampanga by Assistant Professor Maria Eunice Felix. And to widen its spectrum of discourses, this issue has made room for book reviews by Niles Jordan Bryce. With his light and impressionistic approach, he communicates the sociocultural and aesthetic value of the book Agwat Hilom, an anthology of literary pieces focusing on COVID-19. Balaguer, isang kalipunan ng sanaysay, and Makeda sa Alimpuyo ng Isla, isang kalipunan ng mga kwento. Contributors of Agwat Hilom are from the different regions of the country, and on the other hand, writers of Balaguer and Makeda are both from Bicol. Therefore, essentially, the reviews round out the chain link of regional studies created in this volume. Thus, the volume reveals how the writers have sought out the fruitful knowledge derived from their local community and found the latter rich in potential areas of exploration. We hope that the researches will also stimulate you and others to discover the frontiers of regional studies. And finally, I wish to thank Dr. Edna Ko, our director, for her inspiring support. The two associate editors, Dr. Vic Subu, a multi-awarded and an expert in social sciences and the humanities. Former Professor Hilana Roman, Stanford graduate with an MS in statistics and a BS also in statistics, magna cum laude from UP. Perhaps you now know and understand the rigorous evaluation and selection of LIRIP articles. Many thanks to the ever-faithful copy editor, Assistant Professor Cynthia Sanguyu, who patiently went through the tedium of proofreading the articles. And warmest thanks also go to the International Advisory Board, coming from universities in different countries, including England, Spain, Israel, Japan, and the US. And to the referees, of course, who are scholars and experts, for their being so accommodating. To all of you who willingly and graciously assisted us to make the issue come into being, accept our sincerest gratitude. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po kayo.
Muli, mataas na pagpupugay sa outstanding alumni ng UP Pampanga, sina Colonel Augusto Padua at UPAA Pampanga President Miraflora Sanchez. Taus-pusong pasasalamat naman sa mataimtim na taga-suporta ng UP sa Pampanga na si Attorney Estelito Mendoza at sa aming mahal na si Ma'am Seferina Yepez. Nakatatak sa aming mga puso at sa kasaysayan ang kabutihan at walang sawang pag-alalay ninyo sa UPDEPPO. Malayo na ang narating ng UPDEPPO. Isa sa mga tagumpay nito ang pagkakaroon ng sariling dekalidad na interdisciplinary journal, ang LIRIP, na ang Volume 3 2020 issue ay aming inilunsad ngayong gabi. Sa ngalan ng aming direktor na si Dr. Ko, ang aking mga kapwa-guro, mga kawani at estudyante ng UPDEPPO, nais naming magpasalamat sa lahat na nakadalo sa virtual na okasyon na ito. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat.